the center of Europe in the second millennium, a country that takes long to unify people, who only over the centuries come to see themselves as German. Who are we? Where do we come from? Questions about a millennium of German history. He is the king of the Germans and wants to rule as emperor over the Occident. The Hohenstaufen, Frederick Barbarossa. His realm stretches to southern Italy, but his rule is disputed. Powerful rivals challenge the monarch. Also his former ally, Henry the Lion. High visit in the Eternal City. The citizens of Rome have not seen a German king for 2 decades, but the rare guests from the north are by no means welcome. Because of his red beard, the Romans call him Barbarossa. I am not comfortable among these Romans. Jubilation looks different. What do you actually want in Italy, Frederick? A realm without Italy? No, Henry. No emperor without Rome. Ancient Rome and its Caesars, eternal model for later rulers in Europe. The tradition of Roman emperors has been linked since the 10th century with the kingship of the Germans, who have been co-ruling in Italy for 200 years. Music. The Pope has crowned the German king since Otto the Great, also as Roman emperor, who thereby becomes protector of Western Christendom. The Hohenstaufen Frederick Barbarossa is the 10th German king with the Roman imperial crown. The freshly crowned emperor is accompanied by his cousin, Henry the Lion, the duke from the House of the Welfs, who feels equal to Barbarossa. Music. And what about you, Henry? Should I kneel before my cousin? Not before the cousin, but before the emperor. Barbarossa also owes his rank to princes like Henry, as they have the right to elect the German king. But it is the emperor who confers the highest earthly dignity. The emperor, however, is crowned by the Pope, and with him, he wants to be at least on par. Emperor Frederick Barbarossa is depicted in the sources as of medium height, with a red face, blonde hair, and naturally his red beard. He was probably not a special beauty, but he must have developed enormous charisma around him. He placed great value on an imperial habitus, but that didn't go down well with some, especially not with the Romans, who cherish their pride and are particularly self-confident at that time. If you really want to rule as an undisputed emperor, you shouldn't make them your enemy, because they weren't asked who should rule, and only the Pope decided and received election gifts. The citizens of the eternal applause city are in revolt. Kaiser Barbarossa and his entourage face the anger of the Romans. They are in danger. Henry the Lion shows that he has the situation under control. I thank you, my cousin, for your courage and your loyalty. Everything for the emperor and his realm. The lion has lived up to his name and will remind Barbarossa. Music. As king, Frederick the Wart moved south with the imperial crown. He returns. Will Barbarossa rule in the north and south of his realm? He must cross the Alps, a difficult obstacle to his realm in the middle of the 12th century. He is king of the Germans and exercises imperial rights in Italy and Burgundy. Powerful princes from the Hohenstaufen, Babenberg, and Wittelsbach families rule in the German-speaking area. The Hohenstaufens have their ancestral lands mainly in the southwest, the impregnable castles in the southern Palatinate, which are repeatedly a point of departure for Frederick Barbarossa's dynasty. The Hohenstaufen dynasty will dominate German history for almost a century, because the Emperor Kai's music returns to peace after a turbulent time in a country where 6 million people live. 9 out of 10 of his subjects are farmers. Their families live in the simplest applause conditions. Kissing the king's hem promises happiness. Also, Barbarossa is a traveling king like his predecessors. From Kaiserpfalz to Kaiserpfalz, a reign without a power center. The Gelnhausen Palace on the Kinzig River, built by the Hohenstaufen Emperor, lies in ruins of red sandstone. It cost a once magnificent castle complex, the court of the King's Court and inn under one roof. Among the traces left by the imperial builder is also his coat of arms, the eagle. The eagle has been a symbol of world domination since ancient Roman times and is adopted by Barbarossa, who also heavily relies on antique symbols and traditions, that is, traditions of the imperial period since that time. Yes, the symbol of the empire, a reconstruction, shows the ideal type of a Kaiserpfalz architecturally. It symbolized the idea of the empire, the ground floor, the level of the subjects. It is the supporting foundation for the rule of the imperial family, which is at home on the first floor. Still above the emperor's floor lies the level of the empire. Here in the Great Hall, justice is spoken, court and Reichstag take place. The throne is reserved for the king and emperor. The center of the empire is where he reigns. And Barbarossa's empire grows in the years of his reign, also to the west. The court day in Würzburg, 1156, a social event of European rank, occupies the episcopal city on the Main for a few days. The 34-year-old Frederick Barbarossa marries. His spouse is the 16-year-old Beatrix of Burgundy, an international applause dream wedding. The minstrels of the realm outdo each other in the beauty of the king's daughter, winning prizes like ear-witness events, applause, reported in the Chronicle of the Bishops of Würzburg. In the weeks after Pentecost, Kaiser Friedrich married his bride, Beatrix, daughter of Count Reinhold of Burgundy in Würzburg, and his marital bed. The consummation of the marriage of Beatrix and Friedrich is to be attested by dignitaries from the empire, from England, France, and Poland. An important state act through which the connection between the Hohenstaufen and the Burgundian, in those days, is first legally effective. In the staircase of the Würzburg residence, the wedding is later commemorated in a monumental ceiling fresco. The Kingdom of Burgundy again belongs to the Reich, a peaceful conquest. In the north, his cousin, Henry the Lion, rules as Duke of Saxony. Before his castle in Braunschweig, he has his coat of arms set up, probably still in his lifetime. Work began at his court on the almost 4-meter diameter largest map of the High Middle Ages, a monumental document for the effort to bring Christian doctrine into line with new geographical knowledge. Still at the center is Jerusalem, with the head of the Hohenstaufen world map, the head of Jesus Christ. The work on the leather substrate under Henry's successors is completed. The city symbol of Braunschweig, the main seat of the Welfs, marks a powerful applause lion. The model is the lion monument in front of the castle. The bronze lion of Dankwarderode Castle, a spectacular bronze work for its time. The Braunschweig bronze lion stands as a representation of the image of the Duke who said of himself in a coin inscription, "I, Henry of Braunschweig, am the lion." Indeed, the lion is the oldest symbol of power of mankind, from the ancient Oriental empires to the Greek and Roman empires. Bronze is an imperial material. Through its use, Henry places himself on this highest level, on par with Emperor Barbarossa. Face to face with the lion, also made of bronze, gilded, is the Kappenberg Barbarossa head, which Friedrich had made during his lifetime. It is more than a portrait. His head rests on the walls of Rome, symbol of the Christian Roman Empire over which he reigns. Yet there's a forehead band, a diadem like that of the Roman emperors. Scholars assume it looked something like this, also symbolizing that not only the Pope rules over Rome. The Cappenberg Barbarossa head is indeed suitable for expressing this new self-confidence. The empire symbolically stands on par with the Holy Church. Barbarossa aims for the equal rank of Pope and Emperor. The dispute over this balance erupts 80 years after Canossa. This time the stage is set especially in Burgundy. Rolando Bandinelli has arrived, envoy of the Bishop of Rome, our Lord Pope. There are traditions of his appearance before the Emperor heralding a new power struggle. The words, "in the name of the Pope," initially sound harmless, recalling the advantages, yet there is dissent over a Latin word, beneficium. It means favor, but can also be translated as fief in terms of lease. I received my imperial dignity as a fief from the Pope. From whom else does the Emperor have the crown, if not from the Pope? Silence the Roman H holds music. Emperor Friedrich does not see himself at all as ruler by the grace of the Pope. Tell your Lord that we received the crown of our empire from God, and not from his presumptuous servant. The empire is sacred, sacrum imperium. The ruler of an empire that is sacred does not need the blessing of the Roman Pope. In 1157, the term sacrum imperium first appears in an imperial document, and shortly thereafter, this holy empire becomes the Holy Roman Empire, with the addition of the German nation. 300 years later, under Frederick Barbarossa, an important part of the imperial title was thus created. The name Holy Roman Empire emerged and shaped German and European history for more than 600 years. Not only Rome, but also Upper Italy belongs to the imperial territory. But above all, the prosperous cities south of the Alps resist the imperial claims. Barbarossa feels cheated of his rights and lucrative revenues. In 1158, he travels to Italy for the second time. His entourage reports, a chronicler says, the number of troops was so large that even several roads could hardly accommodate them. A group of young men who faced the vicissitudes of war fearlessly. The aim of the military campaign is the center of resistance, Milan. In the face of impending danger, the consul of the city has convened an assembly of citizens. Brave citizens of Milan, do you want to obey the arrogant Germans and submit to their commands? Do you really want to endure this in your lifetime? Applause. Wouldn't we rather die like men than endure the arrogance and tyranny of the Germans? The deployment of German knights evokes a sense of unity in Italy. But considering the superior forces, most cities in Upper Italy open their gates and submit. Only the Milanese are determined to defy the German emperor. Milan was a huge city. I assume that Milan at that time had 100,000 inhabitants, a mighty city, incomparable with anything that existed in Germany. And only the deployment of the resources required has it just compelling needed that Barbarossa goes to the end, and so to speak, the total success in his eyes can show off to demonstrate his imperial position. The siege of Milan lasts for months. After fierce battles, the Lombardian metropolis finally unconditionally surrenders. One of the most flourishing metropolises of the West is burned down to the ground. The citizens of Milan can only save their naked lives and what they can carry. At the height of his power, Friedrich shows no mercy. These Milanese have challenged their emperor. I was forced to punish them for this. They have brought this fate upon themselves. A dubious victory. The German army raged in a way that gave rise to the saying, Furor Teutonicus in the world, especially the destruction with a historical plunder. What is in there? The bones of the 3 holy kings. You want to take them away from the Milanese? The Holy Empire needs holy kings. Barbarossa has the relics transported to Cologne. Pilgrims are attracted to the city, who later donate a lot of money for a monumental building project. Cologne Cathedral. An ancient tradition was revived only at the beginning of the 21st century, the cathedral pilgrimage to the shrine of the three holy kings. It is the most significant goldsmith's work of the High Middle Ages, with the bones of those who are said to have seen the King of Kings, Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. Thus the city gains powerful patrons. Who knows that the relics are booty from Lombardy? The bones from Milan helped the metropolis on the Rhine to lasting prosperity. The pilgrims gave generously. While cities like Cologne grow, the foundation of others is still to come. Henry the Lion received the Duchy of Bavaria from his cousin Frederick Barbarossa. With a mark on the Green Meadow, he decides to found a market settlement called Munich, which translates to by the monks. Henry also wants to go down in history as a city founder. Centuries later, the capital of the Duchy of Bavaria will count more than 13,000 inhabitants. Munich becomes an important center for trade, industry, and culture, one of the great metropolises north of the Alps. After the war, the capital of a free state that places particular emphasis on independence. Henry the Lion also sets monuments in northern Germany, laying the foundation for cities like Lübeck, Braunschweig, and Schwerin. It shows that besides the emperor, there are also powerful German princes. Barbarossa pursues a traditional imperial policy, which must also be pursued, for Italy is after all part of the empire. While Henry the Lion strives to expand his ducal rule beyond the borders of the Duchy of Saxony, in the second half of the 12th century, troops of the prince move north and east, conquering and settling Slavic lands considered pagan. In the duchies of Bavaria and Saxony, the Lion is the most powerful territorial ruler in Europe. His advance is only the beginning of a German expansion to the east, where in the coming centuries further duchies will emerge, such as Mecklenburg and Pomerania, as well as the Teutonic Order territory, with the Marienburg near Danzig, a huge fortress, the largest brick building in Europe, symbolizing the German settlement of the East, which Henry the Lion began, and the Teutonic Order continued. The Brunswick Cathedral, also a foundation of the Lion in his adopted homeland, showcased the mighty Duke's almost royal self-confidence. Even his marriage to an English king's daughter contributes to this. The precious Evangelion that Henry had made for this occasion is of inestimable value and reflects his understanding of rulership. In one depiction, Henry and his wife receive their crowns directly from the hand of God, an affront in the eyes of other princes and the emperor. The Lion is preparing to leap towards a Welfish kingdom of his own. The splendid rooms of his palace seem to attest to this ambitious claim. His sense of art also serves these ambitious goals. In the 19th century, his castle Dankwarderode was reconstructed in the style of the time. With the Dankwarderode castle, built around 1170, Henry the Lion created a residence that was in no way inferior to a royal palace. The powerful rule that the Lion established in Saxony, Bavaria, and the Slavic territories elevated him to a king-like status. This immense power of the Lion increasingly posed a threat to the emperor and other princes of the empire, even seen as a challenge. Goslar's silver for all time, the Lion defied Barbarossa. When the emperor asked him to join him in Italy to quell the uprisings of the Lombard cities, the Lion made demands: the silver mines of Goslar. I ask you as a cousin, friend, and comrade in arms, follow your emperor to Italy. It will not be to your detriment. But Goslar will not do it without the silver mine in Goslar, the emperor said. Then may God be with you, cousin, I am not. Are you so sure of your power, Duke of Saxony? The empire made you great, but it can also crush you. Henry refused to participate in the campaign. He did not break any law, but he did insult the emperor. The idea of an empire that stretches from the Baltic Sea across the Alps to the Mediterranean can only prevail if Barbarossa can bind the territories of northern Italy to his empire in the long run. He needs the wealth of the Italian cities, but the Lombards do not want to be part of a German-ruled empire or its paymasters. Only a few years after their destruction, the Milanese returned to their city and rebuilt it. At Legnano, Lombard troops faced Barbarossa. In May 1176, an open field battle ensued between the free city dwellers and the imperial knights. Battle formation closed the ranks. The opponent's army is not only twice as large, 16,000 men against 8,000, but the city dwellers are also fighting for their freedom. The battle will decide how far the power of the German king as Roman emperor reaches. Who sets limits to a claim that seemingly knows no bounds? When Frederick's banner falls, he has not only lost a battle. German historiography long downplayed the Battle of Legnano as militarily ineffective and insignificant. But the real aftermath lies in the victory of the citizens over the knights, accompanied by an anti-Teutonic resentment that has lingered in Italy ever since. Every year on the last Sunday, the citizens of the small town of Legnano commemorate the dramatic events of 1176. A letter from the Milanese citizens to their Italian allies shortly after the battle invokes the historic victory. Beloved compatriots, they write, do not attribute the triumph over the German invaders to our weapons. The laurel of victory belongs to the community of all Italians, whose proud will rose against servitude. Applause. For the first time, a national feeling south of the Alps takes shape, defining the Italians in contrast to the Germans and their rulers, who are torn between the duties of a German king and the claims of a Roman emperor. Barbarossa made enemies both in German lands and in Italy. Music. His dream of a unified Holy Empire has failed. In Venice in 1177, the largest peace congress in European history to date took place, seeking a balance of interests between Germans and Italians, emperor and pope. Only a few years earlier, Barbarossa had put the Roman pontiff in his place, but now the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire had to submit. The true emperor is the pope, it was said henceforth. The Peace of Venice in 1177 ended the emperor's attempt to establish direct rule with his own officials in Italy. He had lost the power struggle with the Pope. Now a culprit was sought, providing an opportunity to settle old scores. Since Henry the Lion had refused to support Barbarossa in Italy, he was now held accountable. At the Reichstag in Erfurt, he tried to appease the emperor through an act of submission. "Forgive me, my emperor. Your repentance comes late, my duke, too late. You punish me because I did not follow you to Italy. You were not obliged to follow. You yourself said that to me. And yet you bring me down for it. It is about the honor of the empire. The verdict stands, a verdict that was also rendered under pressure from the imperial princes, to whom Henry the Lion had become too powerful. With the Gelnhausen Charter, the fall of the Duke of Saxony was sealed. Due to his obvious rebellion, Henry of Brunswick was judged as recalcitrant, and all the fiefs he held from the empire were revoked by unanimous judgment of the princes. There was no legal obligation for Henry the Lion to follow the emperor, but he did owe a debt, a moral obligation of loyalty to the emperor who had supported and promoted him, not out of duty, but with the expectation that the duke would render compensatory services. Why he failed to do so is not known in detail. Perhaps he underestimated the conflict and its consequences. The Lion initially went into exile in England, and no longer played a decisive role in German history. In the Brunswick Cathedral, which the Welf founded himself, Henry is buried with his wife, Matilda. At the court day in Mainz, the medieval dream of a unified empire seems to revive once more. But dark clouds are gathering. In the twilight of the Holy Pentecost night, a very strong wind rose from the west and caused many buildings to collapse. What divine power indicated was taken as a bad omen, writes the chronicler Otto von Saint-Blaise. A devastating storm brought the decorations of the court day crashing down, injuring or killing many people. A bad omen, thought contemporaries. Indeed, it was the beginning of the end. At the age of 67, Barbarossa embarked on a crusade to Jerusalem, where Christendom has its holy places, as do the Muslims who rule there. But he would never arrive. On the way, he drowned in a river in Anatolia. The Holy Land remained closed to him. But what did he achieve? I think the balance looks rather sober. In the conflicts with the Pope, he ultimately had to submit. The princes no longer appeared at his court. His Italian policy failed. Nevertheless, Frederick Barbarossa quickly became a myth, entered German history as a great personality, and was almost placed alongside Charlemagne. The subsequent generations made him greater than he was. This monument on the summit of the Kyffhäuser mountain in Thuringia was dedicated to him at the end of the 19th century. According to legend, he rests here and will one day return to restore the old imperial glory. A grandiose misunderstanding.